Good afternoon and welcome to the Alonzo Says Show. I'm your host Alonzo. It's been a couple of weeks now since I've done a show due to different various situations beyond my control. However, I'm continuing to do my show and bringing it to you live. And as time progresses, as I told you before, my set will be changing and there'll be a complete transition of how I do my show now. So I hope for the people who's been watching my show up to this point will continue to support me, and hopefully I can build a bigger and broader audience as the future progresses. But today I'd like to speak about a topic that I think that has become enormously important across the United States, and that's the fight for minimum wage. Right now there's a huge fight amongst the working class to have big businesses and small businesses alike to acknowledge that the current minimum wage pay just does not support the financial difficulties that are being faced by families all over the United States of America. And in Congress, the problem, ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to like it or not, you can have your feelings about the Democrats and independents all you like, but they're not the ones, or Obama, who's stopping you from receiving those increases. It's actually the House and the Senate GOP. And if you take a look at the reason why, I don't think it's based on the fact that they don't think it's right. I think it's based on the fact that they have a political agenda, and they're pretty much in bed with big business. If you take a look at each one of those senators, one thing I've learned in the past, what people say is, if you want to know how senators and congressmen are voting, follow the money. Look at their paper trail. And if you'll see that a lot of the GOP big spenders are big businesses. There's nothing wrong with making a profit. Let me be first and foremost with that. That's what business is for. It's different, but to me it's a difference between making a profit and ill-gotten profit, or you refuse to share that profit margin with the same people who made that profit for you, who's allowed your business to thrive at the set it is. And what happens is it's based on need and not greed. You have different factors of, okay, when I made $2 million this year, let's make $3 million this year, and we're going to cut costs. And that cost not so much as through couponing and all kind of different plans that they've come up with to cut costs, such as food costs and waste and things of this nature, promotions. There's more than different kind of ways where you can cut costs. But what's happening is a lot of the workers are the ones that are taking a beating for it. Whereas you have, most of the time you sit down for an interview, you hear a lot of people during interviews that they'll say to you, well, it's market, you're getting paid market rate, and what that is that rate, that market has been created by big businesses. It's not based on the fact that this is what's fair in general. This is what we have as a whole, as the business unit as a whole, decide that this is the threshold that we're going to pay you. And it's not enough to sustain. One thing I've learned is every time there's a cry that, if you raise the minimum wage, that it's going to suppress hiring, and they're going to go down to minimal. They're going to go down to minimum hours, and it's going to hurt the business bottom line. And most of the time, it's a bald-faced lie. Because every time, from even in the 80s when it's 345 and now here it is 7-something, every time that they decide that they're going to use that argument, and it's always the GOP who uses the argument, when it is finally enacted, those claims are unfounded. They have nothing to substantiate that claim, but they're continuing to still use that same lie. And what happens is that even with the suppression of wages now, you're going to have people who's not going to be working. It's going to affect the bottom line. But it's not minimum wage that's doing it. It's people, the economy. It's businesses putting back into the economy. You have a lot of businesses who, you have a lot of politicians who try to blame Obama for it. But that's a lie. Because even when Bush was in office, the economy was hemorrhaging. But it was based on a lot of the policies that they had. And Obama came in and he had to clean up the mess that Bush had left. Okay, let's be realistic about it. Okay, but Obama can make suggestions, but he can't make laws in terms of force a business to sit there and continue to hire. No different than the Affordable Care Act. A lot of businesses use that excuse to sit there and cut down your hours anyway. Because if people go back and really read about what the Affordable Care Act is, they'll find out that it's a market exchange where if you can't afford it, the government help you subsidize it. They subsidize it to help you afford it. And that's better than anything that jobs can give you for people who don't have a health care. For the people who do have one, sometimes the marketplace plan is better than what you have. So a lot of people have to do homework on that. But anyway, getting back to my point is that a lot of businesses just use the recession and not hiring as an excuse to not give you a fair wage. Or they use the excuse to have you, one person doing the work of 3 and 4, that they're taking multiple jobs and they're cutting it down and creating and putting it on one person, but they're still having the same standard. Or they're going in and they're taking a menu and then they're cutting their product. If you take a look at the small products of what you're getting now, what you used to get, or the small portions in restaurants that you're getting, but yet though the price is going up, they say, well, that's food cost. But that's not the case most of the time. Most of the time is they're finding a way to say, okay, well, we was making $3 a unit, now we want to make $4 a unit. So we're going to go and cut the wages and benefit and vacation time and raises for these workers. They deserve it. One thing I do believe, and I think it's a true fact, it's a fact, not fiction. If you want to keep your talent, you have to pay them. Now look at when they had that major recession. You had a lot of companies that was going bottom up, and they still kept them execs, the same ones who made these decisions, that created the swallow hole that pushed America's recession into a deep hole. They still kept those people, even though they were responsible for it. And their excuse was, well, we have to retain our talent. Well, you have to do the same thing on the ground level, because of your profit, it's because of the workers. What happens is that when you have a lot of companies that have promotions and they fail, what they do, they sit and punish the same people who sit and pushing that promotion for them. They're not responsible for that. You are. You made that promotion. You came up with the idea and the concept, and you pushed it to the workers to push it, and they did it. Because it flunked don't mean you should say, okay, well, you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to be suffering for it. And that's not right. You have an occupational movement, which I think is a great movement, because it's bringing awareness about how Wall Street is treating people. Main Street and Wall Street is not meeting on the same road. In the occupation movement, you having people around the country and around the world who sitting there going on marches and demonstrations about minimum wage, and you have a lot of these big CEOs and say, well, you know what, a lot of people just don't want to work. No, a lot of people don't want to work for these sweat wages anymore. You know, the salary that you're having is not keeping up with inflation. Okay, just pure and simple. You can go on all these money shows and all these Fox shows and these politics and give you all these song and dance about why the minimum wage shouldn't be raised and all that other stuff. But you think about it. I don't need to go through all that to have one simple logic, and that is when you pay people a fair wage or more money, they have more money to spend to put in the economy. That's just simple logic for those stupid people who continue to sit there and try to push a lie to you about raising the minimum wage. Okay, it's not keeping up with inflation. With the rise of gas and electric and food pricing and medicine, you have your salary has to sit there and keep up with it. I know Congress is. I know these big businesses, these big execs, and all these people with these huge packages who don't even have to worry about it, with these per diems that they don't need but they're getting. You take a look at the Congress and what they get. You take a look at what all these big businesses and what they get. And they don't share with the worker. They share with the shareholders and themselves. And it shouldn't be that way. It used to be profit sharing. It's no longer that now. Because what it is, they found a way to sit there and screw you. That's the simple logic to it. They found a way to screw you. And you have to just take it. Now, I'm calling for Americans on all aisles, of all colors, of all gender backgrounds, especially women. You know, women, I don't understand. This is for GOP women. I don't understand how is it that you can sit there and support a base that does not support you. The Republicans just voted down equal pay for women again. This is the 5th time they've done that. Okay? But yet though you still feel like, now, and here it is, Obama sit there and put in a law that brings equality for pay for women. But yet though these same women will sit there and beat him up, but they won't beat up these same Republicans who sit there and voted down for equal pay, and they sit and say, well, we voted down because we feel that it would affect the hiring. That is once again a bald-faced lie, and I just don't understand. No different than log cabin. Log cabin is the gay Republicans concept, and the problem that I'm having with that is when they was in Texas and they had a convention, they clearly let them know that they was not welcome there because they didn't fit their agenda. They don't see through the same glass they are, but yet though they still support them because they didn't say that when they have our thought or how we feel about things in mind. Are you stupid? Are you just stupid? They're letting you know that you're not welcome there. No different than women. They letting you know that they don't respect you. You have Fox News where you got a lady on the anchor on there who's sitting there and was sitting there looking at Bill O'Reilly while he's sitting there and just basically insulted the woman in her face about women. And you know, even though she's on his side, she still could not sit and say, bring herself and say, okay, you're right. She was like, well, no, I don't agree with that. That showed a woman who was clearly uncomfortable with the fact that he was sitting there insulting women as a whole. Now I call for people to, you gotta get to these polls. You gotta get to these polls and start voting. You gotta vote these people out who's not gonna sit there and have you can say whatever, like I said, you can say whatever you want to about the Democrat. But these Democrats are doing more for people, the middle class and the working class, in terms of having your vision than anybody. These small-minded, small-town hick people who sit there and say the GOP is looking out for their interests are you're foolish and disingenuous at best. You think about what it is that the GOP has done for the working white class, not no other class. What have they done for the working white class? You tell me that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They padded their pocket at your expense and your stupidity. Okay? Now, the problem you got to get to is you got to get to a point now where you get sick of the rhetoric and the lies that they give to you, and you buy into it and vote for them. Because they're just getting for you to vote for them. Once they get up there where they're at on Capitol Hill, you are not even a sense of thought to them. Because they already had their agenda, and they're already in the back pocket and in bed with the big businesses. People are hurting, and it's based on the policies that the GOP are pushing or sitting there pushing back against. You keep looking at a lie. If somebody keep telling a lie, eventually you're going to believe it. Even if it has no credence with it. And the minimum wage excuse is just a bald-faced lie and disingenuous all over. You got to get to the poll and vote these people out, or push them out of the dark into the light where they can sit there and you can see their faces. And that goes especially for women. You know, black women have it even harder. Women of color have it even harder because you're talking about gender inequality, and then being a person of color where they have to deal with racism. That's even worse. And white women have it hard too. They have it hard in terms of that they have to sit here and support their white male counterpart husbands who sit there and kiss their wife good day and I love you, and go right up to Capitol Hill and go to the office and vote in laws in that's going to be detrimental to them as a whole as well. So you have to start using your heads and not just believe in rhetoric that's being sold to you, that's being manufactured and sold to you, packaged up to you. There has to be a change. No different than you have Seattle and other places that's been more progressive and giving $10 now. You know, $10 now, that still isn't a lot of money. But it's enough to start you at least to being able to get out of that rut. The more money you have, this is my message to the GOP and big business. The more money that you pay the working class, the better it is they're going to pump it into the economy for goods and services. Dummy. Idiot. Greedy bastards. Those are the only words I have for you. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, as I stated before, I'm back. And like I said, I'll be doing a transitional of my show and my concept, but my topics will remain the same: hard, cutting edge, and unapologetic. I'd like for you to go to my website, to my YouTube, to my Facebook, and sound off to me and give me ideas and even your opinion. That don't mean I have to agree with it, but it does mean that I did hear it, and we'll go forward with that. But I'm all for the working class, because they need that. They need this. They need this extension. They need the medical care, and it's time that most of the middle class people start to be educated and not go off of what, because you have certain prejudices. So that a lie is all you need when you're prejudiced. Oh, I'll hide behind this lie to cover the fact that I'm prejudiced against people of color based on this, or I'm prejudiced against poor people. You know, you have to get out of that mindset. It's killing you. It's killing the working class as a whole. Now, if you, with Obama being in office, at least he can veto any stuff that comes across the bill. But if the Republicans get the Senate and the House, it's going to be all hell break loose. And you can rest assured that. You need they're not getting anything done, but at least you got people who's going to be working on your side. You take a look, and then you go back and you do your research and take a look at what the bills that the Democrats is trying to push for the working class. And then you go take a tabulation of a Republican and Bush bill they're trying to push for the middle working class. They're doing everything they can to sit there and screw you. They're trying to push you completely out of the American dream. Okay? And then you get back and say, is this really working for me? You put your prejudice and your ignorance aside and go by off a sheer fact what you looking in front of you now. And like I said, the working white class, think about what in the past 25 years, the Republican controlling 13 of them years. Tell me what proposal or legislation they passed that has helped you out, actually benefited you. You let me know. On that note, I'll see you all next week. I look forward to talking to you all, and we will continue to discuss hard topics here on the Alonzo Says Show. Thank you.